Every single church should be designed with the same attention and detail as the Sagrada Familia. Now, Antoni Gaudi is the architect behind the Sagrada Familia. It's still under construction, I think some 140, maybe more years later. That level and attention of detail is extremely paramount in the making of sacred, emotive, spiritual, and architecture that is representative, in the Sagrada Familia's case, of the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, the reason why I think that this level of emotive, sacred ideology should be put into every church is because essentially what the architecture is doing is it's holding culture. Now, since the age or the dawn of modernism, and especially postmodernism, what we have is an architecture that is stripped or void of any culture or emotion. It's an architecture that is brought down to the basics. It's just about functionality and workability. Now, we tried to get it back as an architectural society, but however, that's still being questioned because production is repeatability. It's about focused items to keep construction costs low or cheap. This is why every building essentially looks the same, because they're getting the same rain screen panels from the same manufacturing mill. We have to have sacred theology in the form of a visual scope. So what I advise is that we have some kind of a pattern that multiple different architects come up with that's placed into the making of an actual church. And then from there, we now couple that with the locality of that particular church's culture. Now, what we've seen is that when you go to places like Europe, where they had those Gothic cathedrals, it's extremely beautiful because they did exactly what I'm speaking about now. But now when you come to places like Jamaica, essentially what the church has become is really just a white box with a cross at the top of it. This is how you know it's a church. But one thing that Jorn Utzon said about the Sydney Opera House is that he wants for you to have the experience of walking up to the opera house, there being no sign of an opera house in front of that opera house, but the human or the person walking up to that particular building knowing just by the design itself that it's an opera house. We have to have these visual cues within the architecture coming from this sacred theological pattern that is taught to individuals, and then we couple that with the locality or the local influences of that particular culture, creating an architecture for the church that's rooted in obviously theology, but also local culture. Let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments. I'm going to get more into this particular series because I think that churches now should definitely be taking a page out of Antoni Gaudi's book just to make the world a little bit more interesting architecturally.